What is up, everyone? I'm Bunkmaster B, your grandma's favorite influencer. I like to talk about comics. Today, we're going to talk about my comics.
Do 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 do.
So before we really get into specifics and we start looking at the books themselves, just kind of a quick overview of my collection, how I organize it. You can see right here the big Billy bookcases I have. How's the Trades and standard hardcovers. I've got Marvel up there, DC down there, Image down there, and then it breaks down smaller and smaller publisher. So I organize by publisher, then character, and then within a character I do chronology. I do them kind of by family, so you can see right here, Winter Soldier doesn't go with W. He goes at the end of Captain America. Down with Batman. Yep. With Batman, the Bat family all goes after that. So Azrael, for instance, even though he's an A, he goes after B for Batman, Batgirl, so on and so forth. So underneath that, I've got some of my manga. I have quite a bit more than that. It's mostly hidden away somewhere in Vermont. This is just what I have with me here. I needed a space filler, so I kind of threw some of my smaller crime pulps because that's what fit in there. Moving over here, this bookshelf, this is a pretty heavy-duty one I made myself. So this is where the Omnis go. Breakdown, I mostly have, when it comes to Omnis, I mostly have Marvel Omnis, and I mostly have DC trades. So moving down, you can see, got that. Little bit of art right here. I actually have a decent amount of actual comic art and prints and things like that. That'll be another video. These just kind of go there. Shout out to that Czarface record. It's not that good a record, but look at that. Look at that variant cover. How cool is that? Image OHCs go here. And then lastly, the Absolutes, they go here. And then I have my 6-gun deluxes there. Over here, these are my my floppies, at least the ones that have been filed. So you can see right here, these books, the ones that are really nicely arranged and are all bagged and boarded, that's all stuff I've read. Not just read, but also put away. There's a lot more stuff that I've read and just haven't bagged and boarded. This stuff all right here, where there's way more of it, this is all stuff I've picked up from really cheap back issue sales that I picked up and I haven't read. You can see there's way more stuff I haven't read than I've read. It's kind of how I go. Alright, so now we're going to talk about some of my favorite, I don't know that hidden gems is necessarily the right word. I mean, if you're here watching this, you probably know a lot about comics. You're probably going to know a lot about these series, but series I think that need maybe a little bit more love. Maybe if you're newer, you haven't seen yet. Either way, over here, this is Captain America by Ed Brubaker. You don't need me to tell you that's good. You already know that. Maybe you haven't read it, but at least you know that it's good. Down here, though, this is Next Wave, Agents of Hate. This is a Warren Ellis and Stuart Immonen title. It's ridiculous. It's very silly. I love it. Very funny. That one, absolutely worth checking out. This right here. This is the Belgian comic 13. This is the English translation. Marvel had the rights for a little bit. I think they only did one volume. You can see it's back when they used the white topper. You may look at this and be like, hey, that's kind of familiar. Why is that familiar? That is on the floor. Remember this game? Remember that? Yeah, this game was based on that comic. So if you ever played this, or you remember seeing it at GameStop and the used bin for like $10, and 8 if you use your Pro card, that's why. I'll pick that up later. One quick thing, this X of Swords right there, that was from Ollie's. Not my Ollie's. Actually, a buddy said that his got it. I have kind of lost all faith in my Ollie's ever getting anything good. He shipped it to me. Big shout out to you. I appreciate you. Moving down here, this is where we get into DC. Obviously, you see some green. Well, starting up here is where we get into DC. I jumped down a little bit too much. And if we go over here, next to Gem, one of my absolute favorite DC series ever. This is Batman Huntress, Cry for Blood. It says Batman on the title. Oh, by Greg Rucka. It says Batman on the title. He's barely in it. His name is on it so they can sell books. Really? This is a Huntress in Question title. I know, shocking. I'm going to recommend a question title. This, super, super good. It's super cheap to find. Go out and get it. This is an amazing, amazing story. It's a great crime story. It's Huntress in Question working together. I think this is the first time Greg Rucka ever wrote the Question. He did quite a bit with him later in 52, and then spoilers, I guess, for Lois Lane, the Greg Rucka series. He also appears in that. It's a small thing. It's honestly pretty stupid, but he's technically in it. But yeah, Greg Rucka probably loves the Question as much as I do, because he writes probably the best Question after Denny O'Neil, with Lemire being a third. Moving down, we got our Green Arrow. We got, again, you don't need me to tell you, Mike Grell is great. Over here, hey, we got more Question. This is Question, 5 Books of Blood. What you don't see on here is the 52 Aftermath, which this series was part of. So after 52 ended, there were some plot points that came up, and they did some spin-off series, like The Four Horsemen. This was trash. Battle for Bloodhaven. This was even more trash. This is how it originally got printed. So this is the original series, and you can see 52 Aftermath is a limited series. This is all about, the crime Bible. So if you read Batwoman and you remember them talking about that, they kind of make mention to some events that happen here. That book, which is right here, talks about that happening. Again, you could find this super cheap. I wouldn't say this is a must-read, but it's worth a read. This is Renee Montoya Question. I liked Renee Montoya more as Renee Montoya, as seen in Gotham Central, which is over there. But I love her, and she's great. And, she's the Question, so I have to love her. All right, so next up is, down there, Shazam! Monster Society of Evil. This is by Jeff Smith, as it says right there, creator of Bone. This is a wonderful book. His art style works really, really well for Billy Batson and kind of the fun, goofy adventures he has there. And then you can see he draws a pretty fun actual Shazam character. It's not the greatest story, but it's fun. It's very endearing, and the artwork is obviously amazing. Definitely suggest that one. I think that's it for through here. Coming down to Image, just a few titles I want to talk about. Another Warren Ellis right here. This is Fell. Whatever you think about Warren Ellis, I don't want to really get into that. But this is a series by Warren Ellis and Ben Templesmith. Awesome art. It's a police officer investigating really weird crimes that Warren Ellis would basically Google the weirdest news stories, the equivalent of a Florida Man news story, and then he would incorporate those into there. Each episode is one and done, but kind of builds the bigger world of, I think it was called Snowtown. made some waves earlier when he said this was coming back, and didn't really address what had happened, and it was a whole thing. So it's not coming back now. Maybe it'll come back later. Again, not going to talk about Warren Ellis here, but this book, excellent. Murder Falcon. You probably don't need me to tell you this is awesome, but I love Daniel Warren Johnson, so I'm going to. This is Daniel Warren Johnson writing and doing the art for it. As you can see, it's amazing. It's also, something you might not expect in a book called Murder Falcon is actually, pretty touching. It's a book he writes, and he talks about in the intro. When you're going through that storm, whatever it is, whenever you're at your low point and you don't want to do all the things that you used to love, it's about sort of getting back into it and finding the passion. I think we've all been there. Sometimes we're in there a lot. I love this book. This is a good pick-me-up book. Moving over here, we are getting into Dark Horse. This book right here, The Highest House. This is by, used to go by Mike Carey. I believe he goes by M.R. Carey now. I don't know why he changed his name, but if that's what he wants to be referred to, that's what I'll refer to him as. This is a wonderful fantasy series. You can see it's in a big kind of prestige format book. Young servant goes to work at sort of a fantastic house and gets involved in politics, and there's a big force that's working with him. Great book. It's only 6 issues. It made it seem like there would be more. There's been no news. This book's been out a few years. This is probably one and done. There isn't a volume 1 on the spine, which makes me sad, but excellent book. Going from The Highest House on the Highest Shelf, we're going to go to The Woods. This is a series by James Tynan IV, Michael Dialynas. I'm probably mispronouncing that. If so, apologize to any of our Greek fans. There aren't any, but if there are, I'm sorry. It's the same creative team that is doing Wind right now from Boom. So if you know what that is, and you like it, you'll probably like this. High school gets transported to another planet, scary woods. Lord of the Flies going on at the high school. This group of plucky adventurers goes out, tries and figures out what's going on. Great book. It's Tynan. It's good. Dialynas does the art on it, and I think around issue 12 or so starts doing the colors, and it's wonderful. Really like that book. And again, if you like Wind going on right now, you'll like this. Over here, from Archaea, which is a subsection of Boom, this is The Killer. This was originally a French graphic novel, and it was adapted. I have it in this format. I call it an omnibus, but it's this. Great series, like it a lot. Had it in singles originally, and got that. But beautiful series. Highly suggest it. First half of the series, so volume 1 is really sort of about the assassinations itself. Should have mentioned that it's called The Killer. It's about a professional assassin. Volume 1 is about the actual assassinations themselves. Volume 2 gets into sort of geopolitical conflict. He becomes an agent in a nation crisis. Really good, self-contained. The same team that did that, Jacquemont and Matz, they did Cyclops right here as well. Haven't read it. Probably good. I don't know. Next one, Wasteland. If you have seen me online, I probably recommended this one at some point. Post-apocalyptic fantasy western. It's great. I love it. It's by Anthony Johnston and art mostly by Christopher Mitten. It's great. It's I think ran about 60 issues or so, and this is another one that back in the day I was collecting the floppies up. Never finished it in floppies, so when these came out, I was super happy to grab it that way. And then last one I'm going to talk about over here before we go to the other section is blankets. You don't need me to tell you that blankets is good, but I love this book so much. It is about a high school relationship. It's a memoir style. I'm a sucker for a good memoir graphic novel, and this one is one of my favorites. Valentine's Day is coming up soon. It's my favorite comic relationship. Check it out. Moving over to the Omnis, there is only one that I really want to talk about. If it's been made into an Omni, you probably already know, kind of everything about it. This right here, this is Captain America by Mark Waid. I always think of it as Ron Garney, but obviously Andy Kubert was working with him. It's a great Captain America run, but the reason that this means so much to me is this was really the run that got me into comics. So I grew up in a very small town, didn't have a place that I could buy comics. My grandmother didn't live in a big city by any means, but when I would go visit her, she actually had a little spot in town that you could buy comics. And being the good grandma she was, she bought me Captain America because, Captain America is appropriate. And so when I met Mark Waid, I brought my Omni. It was painful, but I got him to autograph the issue that I always sort of think back to. And, I mean, it wasn't even all that great. It was part of a crossover that this was the only one I had. But something about this issue, because it's one of the few I had, I just read it a whole bunch of times. So I made him sign the actual page that the cover was on. He kind of looked a little confused. He's like, I can sign the front of it for you. Like, I can sign the title page. That's fine. It's like, no, I want that. Amazing guy. If you ever get a chance to meet Mark Waid, go do it. So, next shelf. Again, I don't really need to tell you, Omnis are great. Thor by Walt Simonson. One of my favorite comic runs of all time. I have that run in singles somewhere at my parents' house in Vermont, or a storage locker, something like that. I don't know where it is. They might be dead by now, but hopefully not. Moving down, again, you ever heard of Batman? He's pretty cool. You ever heard of Green Lantern by Jeff Johns? He's cool. Moving down here, I want to talk a little bit about Solo. So this was a series coming out mid-2000s, won 3 Eisner Awards, and it was a 12-issue series. They were all oversized, and each series highlighted a different artist, and it had a whole bunch of different smaller stories within them. So that's Mike Allred on there, and on the back it talks about there you go. You can see the different artists that are going on there. Darwin Cook, Howard Chaykin, Paul Pope, obviously huge Tim Sale, huge names. And some of the stories they write in there are their own. Some of them they work with people they've worked with in the past. I think Tim Sale, there's a Jeff Loeb story in there. I don't remember which issue it is in here, but one of these issues has a question story, so of course I own that issue. But this one is great. I think it's technically out of print, but it's also really easy to find. I would definitely suggest picking this up. Only $50 cover price. So that's this shelf right here. And then lastly, this is my absolutes right there. So I know it's a little bit dark, but that's what we got there. Only one down there that's not DC is Parker, that you can see right there in the Martini edition. Then moving over here, these are the Image OHCs. Again, if they've made it here, I probably don't need to tell you that it's good. I'm not a big whale collector. I generally try to grab things when they're a good deal, but I suppose the sort of whales I have in my collection are probably over here. So, Chew 3, That's one. I have Descender 1 and 2. East of West is right next to that. Incognito, Kill or Be Killed. Middle West, I think that one's going out of print soon. Nightly News, OHC. Down here, might be My Biggest Whale, Complete Phonogram. And then just, a few others like that. And then I don't think I hit this before. This is the overflow of the Absolute 6-gun. The deluxe editions and Gunslinger, they're actually bigger than Absolutes, which is neat.
Alright guys, so that is my collection at the moment. I've got some books, as you can see. Some of them are good. I would say most of them are good. Some of them are definitely bad, I can admit that. I've got a smaller collection than some. I've got a larger collection than some. It's always growing. It's always changing. And I like that about it. Maybe there were some books there you liked. Maybe not. But that's okay. It's my collection. This is going to do it for this video. But stick around. Next video might be a special one. We hit a hashtag milestone and might be doing something a little special to celebrate that. But like I said, that'll be the next video. For now, I've been Bunkmaster B, you've been amazing, and we'll see you next time.